This is Luke Severide, and you are listening to Breakdowns for Breakfast.
Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Breakdowns for Breakfast. I'm your host, Danger, and joining me is your co-host that I cannot properly break down an album without, Monster. Say hi, Monster.
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I am feeling wonderful. In fact, I am feeling 100. I am 100%.
I feel like you're saying that you're feeling 100, because that's a thing that people say, because this is our 100th episode. People,
Yay!
Thank you for listening to us. And I realized in what I was saying in the beginning that I say welcome back to another, as if you've ever been here before, which I appreciate if you have, but I appreciate you coming back again and again and again to help us get to 100 episodes.
This is, and for our 100th episode, we're not doing anything super out of the ordinary, but there will be fireworks at the end. So just
but
put them in post. Put them in post. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, fireworks sense. But for our 100th episode, we are actually going to be talking about Thornhill's album Bodies that was released April 4th, 2025. Now, Thornhill was actually our third episode. We did their album. I know. The third episode, really. Yeah, we did their album, The Dark Pool, that came out in October of 2019. I would say maybe we should have done our first band, which was Finch, but no, we're going Thornhill. So.
Yeah, after you said that, I thought, damn, probably should have did a Finch album.
yeah.
But that's okay.
Maybe Say Hello to Sunshine Redux or whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you
No. So we're doing Thornhill, which was our third episode. So, Monster, this one's actually been on the list for a while. Now, we actually put on the list when they announced that they were doing it, and I'd listened to a couple of the songs, a couple of singles they'd released, and I was like, this is a lot different than The Dark Pool. A lot different. Mm-hmm. I want to do this album. Where are you with this one?
I was the same way. I remember some singles coming out. If I remember correctly, when we did that episode on The Dark Pool, I had mentioned listening to their album after that, Heroin, which they had already started to shift sounds a little bit.
Yes.
They weren't metalcore anymore once Heroin came around. I mean, there was little implements of it, because that's just
it was like flavors of metalcore. Yeah.
But then when I started hearing the singles off of this album, I was like, oh, I know what this is. This is that new. This is that modern new metal.
Yeah, and I started calling it newcore and going through this.
And it is for about 70% of it. Right. And that's sort of the stuff that I like. I will say from the singles, because pretty much the singles they released all fit that mold. Yeah. But then the album itself has a little bit more of that, I don't even know exactly what you call it. It's not shoegaze, but it has that like dark, moody kind of chordy stuff. There's a couple songs with some huge chuggy riffs that are absolute bangers that I think are phenomenal. And then there's some other stuff that's just not as whatever for me.
And that's actually one of the things about this one that got me was that even the worst songs on this album are still not bad songs. It's just they're not as good as the other stuff that we were getting. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, like, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Which was very surprising to me, considering how new this album is. I was very surprised, and I kind of had to take a break when I was listening to it and taking notes, going, "Who am I? Who
I'm rubbing off on you. You're becoming one of us. One of us." And I'm still going to find that old school nu metal band that makes you go, "Oh man, I missed out on this one."
No, you're not. So
it can happen.
Okay, so I do want to say, I don't think we've ever had an album where the bass was this heavy and insane. This album has bass like I've never heard on an album before. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's not so much just the bass. It is the bass and guitar together that, especially on those chuggy riff songs that are just like, wow, like they just pummel you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost like they're victims of their own good songs, because on the songs where it's more strummy and it's a little bit more atmospheric and less chuggy and bouncy, it like loses some of that edge.
Right.
Because it is just so damn powerful when it all locks in. And the drums have a great sound. Yeah. They sound huge on this album too.
Okay, so I didn't pick this up so much in speakers, like in stereo speakers, computer speakers, whatever, but in headphones, I definitely picked up a lot more on what the drums were doing. The drums are insane on this album. The drums are doing fills all over the place. There's one place where the fill just like, the fill jumped out and grabbed me, like to the point where I was like, oh, that's good. I like that. Like I went back and I listened to that same thing. Yeah.
It's only about 4 seconds long, but it's incredible, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
I think we're talking about the same thing.
Probably. I'm going to go ahead and say this is probably an album that we're going to agree on a lot of the same stuff. And we're going to disagree on a few places, but yeah.
Yeah. I think ultimately we're both going to come in pretty high on this, but you're going to be higher than me. I think that there is a specific section that I've called the swag section that I think is phenomenal, top notch, no notes.
Yeah.
But that is just one section of this album. And then the rest of it around it is still good. I'm still having a good time, but there's one little section of about 12, 15 minutes that I think is superb. Right. And then the rest of the album's like pretty good.
Now, do you have any idea how old these guys are? I tried to pin it down. I couldn't really pin it down.
So I know their first album came out in 2017. I think.
Well, their first actual release came out in 2019, but they did put out an EP in 2016 and then another EP in 2018. So, but that actually comes from where they formed in high school. And this was not anything I brought to the Dark Pool episode. And that was, the Dark Pool was in the early days when we were still figuring out what we were. So
right.
They did form it in high school in 2015. And then in 2016, that was when they really started kind of putting out releases and, you know, forming their sound more of. So 2015, let's just go with they were 17 in 2015.
Probably about right.
Right. Which means they're only about 27 now, which means they're still super young. And what got me with that, where I was really starting to wonder about how old they are, is I did watch the videos for this album. And I do have notes on those videos. And I was watching those videos going, God, they look so young. How old are they?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I realized I would say they're babies, but they're, late 20s. But as far as their look goes, I guess the early 2000s high school nu metal look that we had made its way to Australia, because they are from, and I didn't mention this, they are from Australia. Yeah. So they are from Melbourne, Australia. So cool. But it's like they took that look and they gave it like an updated sound, because I feel like this is a nu metal album, but it's a nu metal album that's been very smashed together. I don't know. I feel like we're feeling the full force of the TRL evolution of things, where we talked about the Korn and Britney Spears next to each other.
Oh yeah.
And now it's made its way here. I feel like this is like the muse of nu metal, if you will.
Yes and no, because here's what I've noticed with the Dark Pool, Heroin, and now this. Every one of their albums is very sonically distinct, because I don't know if you ever went back and listened to Heroin, like from start to finish.
I haven't.
But it has some of the chugs, like the nu metal chugs from this album. It has some of the metalcore elements from the album before it, but it also has this like 80s Bauhaus, Joy Division, Depeche Mode kind of dark wave kind of thing happening, that they have a little bit of that on this new album, but it's not front and focus like it was on that album. And I would believe that in 2027, 2028, when these guys put out the next album, we're going to be saying, oh, it's got a little bit of new metal, but now they're doing a lot of this stuff. Like, I feel like they really are doing a great job of being interesting on every album. All three of those albums sound like Thornhill, but they all have a very distinct flavor to them. And I think that's a very mature thing for a band to be able to do.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I haven't listened to Heroin in full, but I have listened to a few songs from it quite a bit. I did listen to it in the background. Like in doing this, I kind of just put on Thornhill, and Heroin did play in full in background, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. But I'm familiar enough with it to know kind of like there's a certain place where I say there's a certain song that I think pairs well with it. And I think that's actually something we're starting to see with this band and a few other bands where they're writing songs that pair with other albums, other songs from other albums, put that way. And I don't have a problem with that. But at the same time, you're taking a sound from an album that is sonically so different. And I feel like Heroin was a lot more, I would say new metal, but like with the like metalcore, but prog, more in that direction.
Yes, but like I said, there's this extra element of this 80s synth stuff, sort of. Like, there's a song on there called Casanova that has these huge riffs, but it has sort of like this dance beat.
Yeah, you're right.
That doesn't really happen on this album.
Yeah, so maybe prog was the wrong descriptor there. Maybe it was like an 80s dance metal album. I don't know.
Because I do think you're right about the prog thing.
Like a 9 Inch Nails from Australia.
I've actually heard some 9 Inch Nails on this. A matter of fact, and we'll get there shortly. But yeah, there was one song in particular that I was like, this sounds like a ballsier 9 Inch Nails. Like, it has the same like feeling. It just has that modern production behind it instead of that thin industrial that we talked about before.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. So to finish the thought that I had before. So for them to kind of write songs that pair with other songs from other albums where there's sonically a difference in the sound that was happening. And now they're writing a song that is sonically different that pairs well, or that pairs with something that is sonically different. I don't know. It's a very weird thing to try to like kind of put in my mouth overall. And it's just,
Yeah, but you're used to putting weird stuff in your mouth, right?
As soon as I said that, I saw your face and I was like,
that was bad. That was real bad.
Yeah.
Episode 100. You should know better than that.
I do. I do know better. So anyway, I don't know. I just thought this album was a very interesting evolution of this band because, we did cover The Dark Pool, so we listened to that one a lot, and this is before we listened to Dark Pool as much as we did. We didn't know how much music was going to be murdered by us for ourselves. Right. So we listened to that one a lot. We didn't really listen to Heroin in full, like we did. Maybe we should go back and do Heroin since we've now covered 2 of their 3 albums.
Yes, let's go back and do Heroin. Let's just take that out of context.
You know what? I'm going to make a video of it's just going to be that and then it's going to fade out. So anyway, something else about this album that I thought was a really cool thing is I feel like this is another one, and we haven't actually brought up this point in a while, but I feel like this was written as an album for the most part. There are a few places where I don't feel like it works that way because there's so many of the songs that actually bleed into each other. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really cool thing.
And I mentioned earlier my swag section that I feel like
your swag section.
I love that it's there. And I'm having a real good time while it's on. But I almost wonder if we break those songs up and like rearrange this track order a little bit, I might be a little bit higher on it. Because the way it stands right now, there's like one section that I love, but then there's like, and I'll go ahead and spoil this, the last couple songs start to lose me. And it's like, if we mixed it up a little bit, maybe I wouldn't feel that way. Because the way it's set up now, I almost feel like, and we'll get there, but there's sort of like this little break that's kind of in the middle, but not really. And if it was more like in the middle and we moved a few things around, I think this could have a better flow to it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say you're wrong there at all. There are a few tracks that I would switch around, but I mean, I think the flow that it has works because so many tracks bleed into each other. But then there was a couple times where the end sound doesn't really hit, I think, the way they want to. It kind of feels awkward and out of place. But it's almost like the song that happened was so damn good, I'm willing to pass off the last 20 seconds and be okay with it.
Yeah, there's a couple songs where I feel like, just honestly, being completely honest, just about every song has at least like one little section where they do something that I'm like, I would have done this, or I don't love that. But then the rest of the song is so damn good that I can let that 8 seconds, 12 seconds go away. But there is one or two songs, like you said, that specifically the outro or the ending is the part that I'm like, meh, on.
Right.
So,
actually, my cooking track, I wanted it to be a different song just because I love the song so much, but it's like I couldn't get behind what happens at the end, and it's like I have to pick one that I like all the way through more. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Okay, let's talk about the people in the band. I don't think we talked about the people in the band during the Dark Pool, but there's actually different people in the band now than there was on the Dark Pool album.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got Jacob Charlton. Excuse me, Jacob, if you hear this, and it's Charlton. I don't know, but he's vocals, guitar. And then Ethan McCain, guitar. Ben Maida, M-A-I-D-A. Ben, shoot me an email and let me know how to pronounce his name. He's on drums. And then Nick Sorgan, and I actually feel more confident in that. He's on bass. Now,
I don't feel like you should, but okay.
You know what? My confidence is not your problem. So
that's true. There's a reason I don't do this part.
Yeah. All right. And so the album was produced by a gentleman named Sam Bassel. Now, when you actually said that, because audience, before we recorded, I actually said I couldn't find who it was produced by. And so Monster produced that name. The reason why I said it was interesting is because you said he's in a band called Ocean Grove. Now,
yes,
Thornhill is currently signed to a label UNFD.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're out of Australia, but they have bands from all over the world. Like currently, Avoid, which we also covered, Era, which we should at some point because I really like Era, Invent Animate, like Moths to Flames, Silverstein, who is actually from Canada. I didn't know that. But Silverstein, of course, Thornhill. They are all currently on there. But who used to be on it, former artists, are Architects, The Amity Affliction, Beartooth, and Ocean Grove was also on it. Now they're on Sharp Tone Records. So I think it's interesting that this album was recorded and everything after Ocean Grove left UNFD, and they still got one of their old label mates to produce the album. And to be honest with you, I think that he's got a promising career as a producer. I don't think he's all the way there yet. There's a few places where I think this is a little muddy and whatnot, but
yeah,
it's a good start. I don't know how much he's produced outside of this album. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Definitely, like I said, there's the swag section where I feel like the production is top notch. Yep. But there's some other parts where there's a lot of stuff going on and it gets a little bit muddy, like you said, gets a little bit staticky almost.
Yeah.
And some of that's probably intentional, but for me, my favorite parts of this album are when it just really locks in and it's chuggy and there's this like syncopated groove to it. And I feel like he really dials it in on those parts.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, okay. Do you want to just go ahead and jump into this one?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So let's talk about track 1, Diesel. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I think this was a good opener, but it didn't feel like a song. It felt more like just an intro track. It moves really quick. Yeah,
I said the same thing. It's sort of 9 Inch Nails vibe, but a little bit heavier, a little bit thicker sounding.
Right.
Little bit of a Deftones vibe. There's a lot of Deftones all throughout because, again, every new metal band is aping off of Deftones and or Linkin Park.
Right.
Those are the two nu metal bands that everybody copies. I'm starting to hear a little bit more of the Slipknot copy, but you don't get that on this album.
No, I get much more of the Deftones, Linkin Park off of this album. But,
for sure.
But I don't feel like it's copying it. I feel like it's utilizing those sounds.
No, this is a really good example of a band that is taking their influences and meshing it with their new ideas, as opposed to some bands that come out and it's like, I don't want to listen to this. I don't want to listen to Deftones, so I don't want to listen to this. Right.
But I don't want to listen to Deftones, but I would listen to this. So
Exactly. Yeah. I hear the Deftones influence, but it's an influence. It is not, they're not aping it.
Right. So, okay. This song was recorded in one take in the drummer Ben Maida's living room. And I said Maida like that because I'm still not certain about that pronunciation. But,
wow, I didn't know that. That makes me like it a little more.
Right. And the thing about it is, like, I kind of felt the same way because on first listen, I was like, this is a good one. I mean, it definitely sets the tone. It definitely sets this is going to be a brutal album at times. Mm-hmm. This is going to hurt my feelings and I'm going to be okay with it. But then when I saw that, I was like, damn, these guys have some talent behind them for sure. Because I mean, I knew that when I saw them live, I was like, these guys have something for sure. But seeing as how this whole thing or this one track is all I know that it was done in one take. It's like, damn, that's impressive. Because I mean, we talked about bands that spend a month doing a song in the studio.
Right. And to your point, this almost feels like half a song, half an intro.
Right.
It's slightly too long to be just an intro track, but it goes by super quick. It's very, like you said, it's not a bad way to start your album with something this quick, fast, and punchy.
Right. And I apologize. I don't have total times on these, but this one, I think it's
2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah. 2 minutes, 10 seconds. And it was one of those things that every time I went back to it, it was done before I really grabbed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I read the lyrics along with listening to it, and what was posted on, A to Z lyrics or whatever, was like, what was listed there as the chorus is like, that doesn't come back. I don't know if that's actually the chorus or if they just had to label something as the chorus. Okay,
so something else these guys do that has become a common trope within modern metalcore, newcore, whatever you want to call this, like modern heavy music.
Right.
The second verse is often different than the first verse.
Yeah.
The choruses typically stay the same, but every verse feels like a different section. And so there's parts of this album where I'm like, wow, I love the verse. Specifically this one and not that one.
Right. Yeah. No.
This song is so tight and short, it's just kind of all just one thing.
Right. All right, so let's talk about track 2, Revolver. That scream at 23 seconds is great. It's not overpowering, but it definitely sets the tone, especially considering we just got a very calm 16 seconds before that scream comes in.
Right. This one is, again, kind of chaotic, kind of choppy, but it doesn't sound bad. But I really like at 107 when the clean guitar comes in. To really just break it up.
Right. And that's actually something that I really like. I put a note further on down, but they did a really good job of giving us dynamics within every song, because every song has several changes within it, but they're all very cohesive. Like this one it's got that clean guitar part at, what'd you say? It was 120?
Like 107.
Okay. I didn't take note of that part, but I did take note of at 146, after we get the clean guitar, we got a break beat.
Right. Yeah. And so this is like, I don't want to say I don't like this section, but I'm kind of indifferent, but then at 2:06, when the guitar comes in.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fun riff. It's real simple, kind of like do-do-do-do, do-do-do. It's kind of like a chromatic walk down kind of thing. But I like it better before the vocals come in. Because once he starts screaming on top of it, it loses some of that magic for me.
But that happens at 106. The vocals come in, I think it's about, 1:15 or 2:15, excuse me.
Yeah, 2:06 and then
Yeah. And then 2:31.
Uh-huh.
I was not expecting things to calm down the way they did. Before we get a breakdown that is made for a wall of death, because the end on this song is just nasty.
I feel your river.
Yeah, and I don't like it. Like, I get why it's there, and I get why other people would think it's cool. But for me, like I said, I think my favorite part of the song is probably at 107 when it goes super chill and quiet. I don't dislike the heavy breakdown, but for me, the end of this song sounds like so much other stuff happening right now that it didn't. I don't know. I didn't find it as engaging as a lot of the rest of the song.
So I like that they put the breakdown, that nasty ass breakdown at the end of the song, and that's what they close the song on, not this like after the bridge breakdown, and then we go back into a verse or a chorus or whatever, like we get on so many other. I like that they put it there, and it was like I was not expecting a breakdown as late as we got it. And so I like the way they structured that.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like, I like the structure of the song. I just don't particularly, like we said a few minutes ago, there's certain parts that start to sound a little muddy and staticky. When they start chugging really hard and there's all the like ambient atmospheric production and he's screaming, sometimes that's when it gets a little bit like too distorted for me. Oftentimes when he's screaming, and hell, when he's just singing normal, he does have that like little distortion filter on his voice, which sounds good. Yeah. It adds to the atmosphere of the album. Not to, harken back to episode 1. I don't want to call this a vibe record, but it sort of does have this vibe about it. And it has this cool, when I say cool, I mean temperature wise, like it feels chilly. And that staticky voice helps with that when he's singing. When he starts screaming, especially with the heavy guitars, like at the end of the song, it gets a little noisy for me.
The last note I have on this song is something that we've already kind of touched on, but this song let me know this. I actually put, this is the day that the Deftones hath made.
Exactly. And I think we've established that Deftones are an influence, but they're not copying the Deftones. But on this one, it's as close as it's going to get, because this one feels more Deftone-y than most of the other songs.
Deftone. I like that.
Deftone.
Yeah.
It's like your buddy down the street and can't hear.
Right.
Tony. Tony.
Yeah, Deftone. Right. All right. So track 3, Silver Swarm.
This is the first song that hooked me. This was the first one.
This is your swag section?
Nope, we're not there yet.
Okay.
But this is the first song on the album that was like, yep, okay, this is more me. The first 2 songs are fine. Like, I was not mad at them. But when this opening riff starts and you've got that bouncy riff, I said the first thing it made me think of was, sounds like the music you'd hear in a nightclub from a scene from a movie like Blade. which is exactly what the music video looks like.
Right. That's what I was going to say. It's like that they pretty much made a music video that matches their song, because this song.
And to your point, they're all dressed like early 2000s new metal kids. They're all wearing like huge pants and spiky hair, and I love it.
Right. But it's like the new metal look from high school, not like what the guys on TV were actually wearing and all, which I thought was kind of a cool thing, where it's like, it's not the new metal that was actually on TV. It was the new metal that was in the hallways at school, which is fun.
Right.
Okay. So yes, it does have that like 90s club type feel. And I think it's because this is what I feel like. And this is the one that I actually was talking about, that I love the song and I wanted to put on my cooking list, because it's just this like sexy, moody, bassy song. And it's like, I just wanted more of it. Like, I love this one. And they do give us those dynamics at 2:07.
Yes. Because I was going to say, this is one where the opening riff is killer. I like a lot of stuff going on. That section from like 45 seconds to 1 minute and 3 seconds. It's really cool. I like that. But then the chorus is a little underwhelming. Like, it fits the vibe of the song, but it goes down instead of coming up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have that like huge uplifting chorus, which it doesn't necessarily have to have. Right. But that's where my brain went. So I was like, eh. And then there's some other stuff that I'm kind of again. But then, like you said, at 2:07, I love how it like drops before it kicks back in at like 2:44. Right.
Which actually, and it kicks back in with an echo. Which I thought was a neat thing, because it's like they ended that quieter section on an echo, and it's, I'm going to tell you, I listen to this one in every situation like I always do, but that hits so much bigger in headphones. It's it's one of these things where it's like this. It doesn't have to be listened to in headphones, but this album you're going to get so much more out of it in headphones.
Now, this section that kicks off at 2:44. Yep. Now, this is the first example of what I like best about Thornhill. These sections here, where if you listen, they let stuff drop out. And there's a lot of empty space, because when they lock into that da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and it pauses, there's not a whole bunch of beep-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop going on in the background like you would get on a Spirit Box record or
where they fill every frequency.
Yes. Yeah. It gets quiet, and that's what makes it sound so like badass and full, because they do have that empty space for it to breathe.
Right. So then we get that heavy ass section that, and I've pulled this out several times since, I think you're the one that gave me this, where when something's heavy all the time, it's not heavy anymore.
Right.
And they do a good job of not creating that, because then they give you enough heavy to where what I was calling the pulsating symphony at 3:57 almost feels like a wash. Like it gives your brain a break to just kind of absorb what just happened. And I like it.
I like it too. I think it goes on a smidge too long. Like, it could have. It goes on for like 20 seconds. It could have probably been a little shorter than that.
All right. Track 4, Only Ever You. Which I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't feel like those words should be in that order. All right. This one, actually, I feel like pairs with Red Summer from the Dark Pool.
Oh God, it's been so long. I'd have to go back and revisit it.
I know, but I did. I listened to this one first, and then Red Summer, and then Red Summer first, and then this, and I think Red Summer going first, and then this works better. And I didn't do those back to back because it was I spaced out the order of those two things by days. So, it was I do think it works well with that song, but this album has been so brutal before now. I feel like every song has just been this like brutal, like we're here to hurt your feelings and give you a hug. And now all of a sudden we get this atmospheric and melodic song. And I don't feel like it fits here. I feel like this should have been pushed back a bit.
There's little bits of this sound in Revolver and Silver Swarm, but this is the first song that is made up mostly by that more melodic, emotional sound, and the heavier stuff is sort of, not as prominent. Now, you had mentioned Silver Swarm feeling kind of sexy, and this feels like there's a sexual tension throughout these songs for some reason. And
it's because they are guys in their late 20s and they're on the road as much as they are, and they're frustrated.
I guess so. Now, but this is the first song.
But I appreciate you guys channeling your frustration, your sexual frustration, into an album.
This is the first song where I thought the lyrics really did kind of pick up on that. Because did you read the chorus lyrics?
No, I did not.
Okay, he says, "I can feel you linger, because I can feel you linger on me." No, I have never felt this way. Just let me feel the pressure. Just let me feel the pressure of you on me. No, I could never leave. That sounds a little 50 Shades, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Cool.
Now, I will say, musically, this isn't one of my favorites.
No.
Lyrically, it's not one of my favorites.
This isn't in my top tracks off of this album, but it's still not a bad song. No,
it's not. The one thing that I find interesting, though, is the very end. Before it goes into like the little bit of fade out, they're playing the chords of the song, which another thing, there is a lot of dynamics here. There's, some heavy guitar, there's some clean guitar, but the drums stay driving the whole time.
Absolutely.
So it does stay, relatively upbeat. But at the very end, it goes out the last two guitar chords that it hits. Well, there is like the resolve chord at the end. But at 3:59, they hit one chord that they haven't hit at any point in the song. And then at 4:04, they hit a second chord they haven't hit entirely in the entire song. And then the last note is like the resolve chord that ties it back to the rest of the song. As a musician, I thought that was an interesting thing. It's been pretty straightforward, this whole song, but then at the very end, you do this little tweak that if you're like just sitting there and your eyes are glazing over because the song doesn't really go anywhere, all of a sudden it's like, huh? Oh.
Okay, so I will say, I do like how this song kind of brings it down, and it's already this like, I feel like it was like a prog metalcore side of things that they're showing. And so we get a little bit of a pickup during the song, and then at 3:13 it brings it down, but then it's like everything is still there, but it's just kind of quieted down. But then there's this dropout that happens at 3:30 where like everything except his voice and guitar drop out, and then I like how it picks up.
I have never felt this way.
But then we go into that part that you're talking about, and I know what you're talking about because when I heard it, and this happened several times on the show where it's like you'll identify something and I'll go, yeah, I remember that, and it felt weird, but then it bleeds into the next track.
Yeah.
Which that makes me goes back to I feel like this was written more as an album, and you're supposed to listen to track 4, Only Ever You, with track 5, Fall Into the Wind. Which this is just a brief interlude. Nothing crazy. It's, how long is it? You have the times up?
Yeah, it is 1 minute and 32 seconds.
Okay. So 1 minute and 32 seconds of lulling you into a false sense of safety.
It is the quiet before the storm. It is the intro into what I have affectionately titled the swag section.
The swag section. Okay, because Fall Into the Wind just, again, lulls you into this, like, it's going to be okay. And then it bleeds. Like, if you're not paying attention and you're just listening to headphones, all of a sudden you get smacked with track 5, Tongues.
Track 6, Tongues.
Track 6, Tongues. Sorry. Yes, track 6, Tongues. Yes. Coming out of track 5, this one hits big.
Yes.
It startled me the first time.
That riff is huge. And again, if you really listen to it, especially with a good pair of headphones on, there's not a lot of bells and whistles going on.
No.
That guitar, bass, and drums locked the hell in, and it's massive. And I think it sounds so massive because there's not a bunch of little beeps and boops and wind sounds in the background. It's just brutal riffage.
4 guys should not be able to make this much noise, this much sound.
It's not a hard riff. It's a very simple riff. And I think that's what has gotten, I don't want to say lost, but like, everything has to be so jinty and off kilter and out of tempo that whenever they just do something like this, it just hits so much better.
Oh yeah. This one was one that I went back and I listened to several times on its own because I was like, I need more tongues, which that statement sounds funny.
Right back to weird stuff in your mouth. Fantastic.
Yeah. So I really like the way he says fingernails. And there's been several times in the past where we have like picked out a word or something and this is going to fall right into it. I just really like the way he says fingernails. I don't know. It just felt right in that moment to me. So
this is another one where I love the first verse. I love the way this song kicks in. The chorus is cool. The chorus is only 2 guitar chords, essentially. And it's just his, nice big vocal on top of it. And I'm all into that. Then the second verse is different than the first. It's a little bit heavier and a little bit more screamy, but it never loses that groove and that locked in bounce that it has. So all in for all of that. And then comes the drum fill of all drum fills.
Yes, at 135.
135?
Oh, I have it listed as 135. No, excuse me. I have it 220. 220, yeah. Okay, so at 135, I had the note, the drums and the growls are the star within that section. But no, yes, you're right. The blast beats at 220 are they're fun
because because his voice is nice and clean, and it's just like It's so short, but it's so perfect. Like it feels so good right there.
It's also just so unexpected there, which I think made it better because it was like, what was that? And like I remember when I was like sitting here with headphones on, and it's like it happened. I was like, I didn't hear that before. Let's do it again. Let's do it again because that was fun. Just did it over and over.
And you know, here's the thing. I'm a big fan of bands that also recognize the best part of their song. So the fact that they go out on that riff because they knew they needed to go out on that riff, smart fellas, for sure. Now, the music video
right in Australia.
Yes. Speaking of Australia, the music video for this, I guess, features a spider native to Australia.
I don't know. It's a big, creepy spider experiment thing. I don't know. I was quite creeped out by it. I mean, the whole thing's in black and white.
I love the video.
I really enjoyed it. It's quite creeped out by that spider thing. Okay, so at first, the lead singer, he's got his hair all gelled up or whatever. He's wearing that.
You know what coat. I said he looked like?
Who?
He looked like Bono at a ski resort.
After it zoomed out and I could see that he was wearing Jinkos, I said he looks like new metal Scott Weiland.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah. I love the pants.
Yeah. No, it is cool to see that they're, definitely bringing those Jinkos back. But it was a fun video, and it was one of those videos that just fits this sound, this feeling the song gives you, which I gotta say, they're just hitting on all cylinders as far as matching sounds to visuals.
For sure. Especially with Silver Swarm and Tongues, for sure.
All right, so let's move on to talk about track 7, Nerve. Okay, so Nerve is stylized in all lowercase. And so when I was looking at that, I was looking at different, how Tongues before this was all capitals. And then Fall Into the Wind before that was all lowercase. And so I was looking at the track listing on Spotify going, do these songs actually go together? Like I was listening to certain ones and I listened to this in all messed up order. But I was like, these don't actually go together. But yeah. So anyway, track 7, Nerve.
This is another one, man. Just great riff, great groove. I like, again, he kind of has that distorted vocal, but then it goes clean and it gives it this real nice dynamic. The verses kind of have a little bit of a hip hop feel, but the chorus is real big and bright.
Somehow he's able to give us a hip hop feel that also soars in the chorus.
Yeah, he's definitely not. He's not like a rapper. Like at no point does he try to rap, but he just does these things with his vocals that sound just a little bit of a hip hop influence that it never comes across as corny or forced. It's really good.
Oh yeah. So I put this one somehow feels crunchy and aggressive, but soaring at the same time. And I don't know. This one blends a funk and a heavy, and I don't know. I had a hard time putting my finger on things I liked about this one because I liked so much of it. I mean, the intro on this one was fantastic.
Yes, for sure.
I feel like this was if Muse made a nu metal song, but then also listened to a lot of 90s hip hop on the way to record it.
Yeah, the only part on this one that, talking about sort of the noisy aspect, from 110 to 134, I like the music there. There's a lot of fun riffs, but with his vocals on top, with the screaming and the distortion, gets noisy. And that's where it's like, is that intentional? Maybe. But for me, I'm thinking about Tongues and some other stuff where it just locks into a groove and you don't have all that extra noise. And I like that better.
So what I put for that section is that section should be noted by everyone for how to write something correctly, but how to make it go wrong so easily. Because like the bones of it are phenomenal, but it's like that production just kind of pushed it in the wrong direction. And it's almost like if they had just like pulled back a little bit, it would have just like pulled those faders back a little bit. It just would have been so much better, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. But you know what I really enjoyed on this song?
What's that?
That drum moment that happens at 146. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, that little section's really cool.
But let's talk about
not quite as much fun as Tongues, but I do like that section.
Oh, yeah. But let's talk about the bridge, because the bridge gave us a break before some aggressive hip hop into like a face melting section of things,
where it kind of drops out and they bring back the opening riff.
Right.
Yes. It starts around 216 and it builds up till around like 229 or so, when it just jumps back in, like you said. He's not rapping. He just has a really good flow to his voice.
Right.
And it's so good.
I felt weird putting hip hop descriptor on it, but that's the only thing I knew to put on things, because it has that like that hip hop flow to it, but he's still singing. He's not rapping.
Right.
I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing. Like I didn't feel good about it any time, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know what else to put there. Okay. So did you watch the video for this song?
Yeah. And this is out of the videos for this album. I feel like this is the weakest.
Right. I'll agree with you. But what I do appreciate it is it's the one video that changes like aspect ratio of your screen, because, I watched them all on YouTube, and this one went from that letterbox, the wide, into like just a square. I don't remember what the ratio is.
I think it's 16:9.
Okay. So what I did appreciate about it though is it made me happy that it's almost like that video was, the focus of that video was to look like it was a video from the 90s, because it had all of those, hyper colors. They were dressed completely in the Jinkos and all that. It made me feel good, but I also looked at it going, God, that time was so ugly. Why did we think it looked good? And now it's back.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, but 90% of the video is just them performing the song. But then there's like these close-ups of this chick's tongue that's been bedazzled or something.
Yeah.
Little strange. Like I said,
something that would have worked, that it would have fit in the 90s video.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, track 8, Obsession.
So, if you've come this far, you're thinking, wow, Tongues, wow, NERV, and then somehow this song starts with an even better riff. This is like, the start of this song is so damn good. I love how like simple and huge that riff is at the beginning of this song.
So this was one that I kind of struggled with a little bit, because I like the beginning of the song, but it's almost like about 45 seconds, it just kind of loses me. And around 45 seconds, it just kind of feels like an older song from another album, which actually, this was a single that was released in 2024, and they did re-record it to improve the guitar tone and the vocals on it. So it's like, okay, I can feel that in listening to it. It still is an earworm of a song. It's still a fan favorite. I get it. It's just not my favorite track on the album. I mean, it's got this sludgy, hypnotic groove to it that just,
Yes.
you know, it's nice, but at the same time, it's like, this is not my obsession.
Okay.
Obviously, it's yours.
Fine. Yes, it is. And I knew there had to be something behind it, because when I watched the video, I was listening to the album today and I was refreshing my memory and going back to the music videos. And so I listened to the song and watched the video in pretty close proximity to each other. And I was like, whoa. This sounds weird. I didn't even really pick up on the guitar as much as the drums, because the snare drum in the music video sounds like he's whacking a cardboard box.
Yes.
And I don't know why. You know me and my crazy snare problems, but because the video is so like gross and dingy, I prefer the gross, dingy drum sound that's in the video as opposed to the cleaned up version on the album.
So I think the video was actually, because they look quite different in the video. The video's got a whole different look overall. I think the video was for when it was released before in 2024. And I'm thinking that the video was actually made and all before the song was released, because it was released as a single, and it was kind of I don't want to say a dry spell of there, but it was like a gap in them releasing things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking that this song is one where they were like, you know what, we can do it better. And so that's why they did it. But overall, not my favorite off the album.
It might be my favorite off the album. And the video, I think, it's interesting because for as new metal, quote unquote, as the other music videos look, this looks like this could have been a Nirvana or a Silverchair or something like that. This looks super 90s in the video.
It does. It does.
Which, again, you said it was like filmed and recorded at a little bit of a different time than the rest of the album. But, dude, I love that opening riff. And then you said around the 45-second mark it started to lose you. That's kind of like where the chorus comes in. I think the chorus is great. It's big and it's clean. And it goes spot on with the rest of the song. And then I love the end of this one because it starts around 2:46.
I'll agree with you though there.
Just this super heavy, chuggy thing again where there's not a bunch of bells and whistles. There's not a lot of extra stuff. It's just the guitar, bass, and drum locked in and rocking hard. And so, yeah, I think this is a killer song.
So I wanted to listen to some of the tracks that I didn't think were good. And now we've actually had a little bit longer with this one. And, between recording our last episode of this one, I actually did go on a vacation. And so I made it a point to listen to these at times, in the car, like just kind of put one on. Mm-hmm. And so I did find that when I listened to this one on its own, I liked it better than when I listened to it right behind Tongues and Nerve and all. Like, it's just, I think the reason why I didn't like it as much when listening to it in succession to those was because it wasn't as big and heavy and nasty as those songs were. But it's still a good song.
See, I disagree because I think Tongues is huge. And then I think Nerve is like one step behind, and then Obsession is as big as Tongues. So for me, I feel like these work exactly the way they are. And in case anybody cares, we are now leaving the swag section. Swag section is over. We hope you had fun, because it's never going to be that much fun again for the rest of the album.
Which is actually part of the reason why I say the first thing I say here. All right, so we're going to talk about track 9, Crush. So I feel like Crush should have been swapped with 8. It would have been a dramatic drop-off, but I feel like what Crush gives us, which is this like R&B vibe, I feel like it was a lot closer to like a Sleep Token type song. I was always expecting a smooth hip-hop section to start at some point, but I feel like that would have made Obsession a better song. But yeah.
This to me feels so out of place.
Yeah, it does.
Like,
you're right. Yeah.
It doesn't even feel like it belongs here. I mean, I guess to add to sort of like the sexy atmosphere that they're going for on a lot of these songs, it kind of works. But yeah, dude, especially coming out of that section, man, that 6, 7, and 8, I am so fired up that when this started, I was like, no, please. Like, I don't want this at all.
Yeah, I mean, but they had to give us a slowdown. You know, they had to.
Yeah, and so that's where I was saying that, like, there's this, Fall Into the Wind at 5. It's not really the middle of the album, but I feel like it does shift after 5 for the next few songs. And so I don't know exactly where you put this. But it does nothing for me. And to be honest with you, this doesn't even sound like the same band. Like the singer, it doesn't even sound like the same singer at first. Like I was going to ask you if you knew if there was a guest vocalist on the first verse or something.
While I am going to 100% agree with where Crush does not sound like the same band, I feel like this was probably a filler track. This is probably my least favorite track off of the album. And I feel like it's hey, Sleep Token's doing really big things right now. Let's put out something that's a little more along the lines of them. I feel like this was probably a label push, if anything, because I don't feel like this was them. This doesn't feel like them.
It doesn't, but everything else on this album feels so deliberate and on purpose that it feels strange that they would just slap something like this on here if they didn't really want it on here.
I mean, it's like as aggressive as the album has been, this left turn almost feels aggressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of does. And to be honest with you, I don't think the rest of the album is bad, but because this is like hitting a brick wall at 100 miles an hour, I kind of stopped caring after this song because it really does just derail the whole thing. Before we go to the next song, though, can I tell you the one part of this song that I do like?
Go for it.
The very beginning, the very first couple sounds you hear were reminiscent of the safe room music in Resident Evil 7. So I liked that.
Okay, so what I'll do is right here, I'm going to put a clip of the beginning of the song.
Uh-huh.
And then right here, I'm going to put the safe room music. So there we go.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, but the reason, like my reason for thinking that this was more of a label move is because everything else has been so deliberate on this one. And then we come out of 9 into track 10, Under the Knife. Which is already an aggressive title.
It is.
I was definitely not expecting the opening sound that we got off of this one from where we just were. Mm-hmm. Which makes me think that this one should have just, track 9 shouldn't have been there. This was supposed to be what comes after track 8, because this one is just a return to those heavy riffs, the aggressive form. This one feels like it was made to start a pit.
So I kept making the joke about the swag section.
Yep.
But if you want to take it for the way it is set up, I really feel like the first 4 songs are a section. 5 is kind of an outlier because it's just a little instrumental thing. And then you've got 6, 7, and 8, the swag section. Then this song feels much more reminiscent of those first couple songs, whereas, Crush and the song after this feel like they belonged in their own section or something. Like, I like this song, but I almost forget that I like it because after Crush, I'm kind of over it.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. But it's almost like you can feel the song building to the smash that just smacks. Like it's almost like somewhere between a smack and a punch at 115. But then after that, the whole thing hurts. Like it hurts, but it's a good hurt, because then at 155 we get this like 90s heavy break that comes in.
Yeah.
It's just such a 90s feel to it. And it made me feel good and warm inside after just being hurt by their smack.
That section in particular is another one of those parts where I love the riffs, I love the music. I don't love the screaming on top of it.
Fair.
I think I just like this guy's clean voice so much. And then when he does sort of what he's doing in the swag section where it's a little hip hop influenced, I like all of that so much that when he does more just kind of straightforward metal screaming, it's fine. I just don't like it as much as the other stuff he does.
But with all of the metal screaming that we've listened to on this show, it's not bad.
No. He is definitely really good at it. And in all fairness, in the pantheon of the more modern albums that we've done, I feel like he is one of the better vocalists out of them. For sure.
Yeah, no. Thornhill is definitely proving that they are a force that needs to be reckoned with this album.
Yeah, honestly, talking about his vocals, the band in general, they have. I'm sorry, you get take a shot every time I say swag. They have a swag about them that a lot of other bands right now just don't have.
You know why I'm so okay with you saying swag? Because you haven't said jaunty.
No, there's not a lot of jaunty on this album, unfortunately.
Yeah, this album doesn't
that would have pushed it over the top. No, that would have pushed it over the top for me. Get rid of Crush and put in a jaunty little number, something with a little, and we'd be in better shape.
I hate that I said that because now you're on it.
I'm all in.
Yeah. All right. So at 223, it brings it down. And then at 324, it drops down to some ethereal sounds that would be better if they bled into the next song. But they just set the tone for the next song. They don't really do anything. Like, I like this song except for where that part starts.
Same. It's the same as, what was it, Silver Swarm? Yeah. Where you've got a really solid song that could be like tight and short and heavy, but then they kind of embellish it with an extra 20, 30 seconds it doesn't really need. Because you're exactly right. It doesn't really bleed into the next song smoothly. Right. It
doesn't even they don't even try. It just kind of fades out.
Yeah. Honestly, like, as we were talking about this, I feel I should enjoy this song more than I do. And I honestly think it's just due to track placement. I feel like if I heard this song in the first 3 or 4, I would be way more into it than I am hearing it back here.
So this is where, when I went through this, I individually scored them because I started doing that a while back because I realized that there are certain tracks in certain places that I do really enjoy, but my feeling on them is affected by the track before it and things like that. And it's like, how do I feel about this track on its own? So
absolutely. Yeah. And I do think I like this one more on its own than where it's placed here. But as I said before, it reminds me of the first 2 or 3 which I like, but I don't love, like the swag section.
Right.
You know, like it still is one of those songs that I would put in the that's really good category, not wow, I love that.
Right. Let's round the album out. Talk about track 11 for now. So I know, like, you've already talked about how this is not one that you already love or that you do love, but this is a consistent thing that they've done on all their albums. So I kind of expected it here because I do remember it off of the Dark Moon. Is it Dark Moon? I've already forgotten the name of the album. Anyway,
Dark Pool.
Dark Pool, right. And I know it was on Heroin because I made a point to go listen to it. But Thornhill tends to end all their albums with this, like, cinematic kind of song. You know, with all their songs, all the last songs on their albums have this kind of feel to it. So I get why they did this here. But at the same time, I didn't love this one. I do like that he does kind of enter with his falsetto. And I do like the harmonies that are happening there. Okay, so before he enters with his falsetto, we do get a neat intro, I feel like, where it's got this simple guitar and these like backward noises happening behind it. But I will tell you, I genuinely enjoyed this one more in headphones than I did anywhere else.
This is one that the Deftones worship is up front and center.
Yep.
And I like that it eventually does kick into a little bit of something more aggressive once the drums come in.
It punches at 119.
More driving.
And we get that.
Yeah. And I like that section, but I think it's about 140 where it's mostly just vocals and drums. There's some atmosphere there, but that sounds like every third Deftones song. Like I just could not get Deftones out of my brain and hear Thornhill on this song.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So I like the intro. I enjoyed the intro a lot more in headphones. And then we do get that punch at 119. And then it's like 119 to 210, I feel like is a Thornhill song. And then after 210, it becomes a Deftones song.
I'll give you that. I don't know. This is not the flavor of Thornhill that I prefer. I definitely understand why it's a closer. It makes perfect sense as the final track. I give it that.
Right.
I just, like I said, I feel like Crush derailed me. Like after Crush, I was so like, it took me completely out of everything after that song.
Yeah. Even in talking to you about it, I feel like you've been derailed after Crush.
Honestly, I feel like if you just took Crush out of here, made this 10 songs, and you left Obsession and went to Under the Knife,
I think it'd be
Under the Knife
killer album.
Yeah. Like I feel like that would have made a lot more sense.
Right. All right, Monsters, let me ask you a question. What's new with you?
Hey, good looking. What you got? Cooking.
You might get mad at me for this, and maybe you'll make me pick one. But I said the swag section, baby. Those 3 songs, Tongues, Nerve, and Obsession.
Pick one.
Honestly.
Pick one.
If I had to pick just one, I think I might have to go with Obsession. If I had to rank those 3, I would say Obsession, very close behind it is Tongues, and then Nerve. I ask me tomorrow, I might say Tongues slightly above Obsession. But those 2 songs, I think, are just magnificent. And I think Nerve is almost just as good as they are. But all 3 of those songs have these huge riffs this rhythm that you kind of make that stink face. There's bits and pieces where he's got a little bit of a hip hop influence on his delivery. Love that section. Fantastic. Favorite part of the album. If more of the album sounded like that, I'd be coming in super high on this album.
Yeah,
but
fair.
Anyway, Danger, what's cooking?
I wanted it to be Silver Swarm, but I couldn't because of that ending. I love that song. I think I gave it like an 8.5 on, or like a 0.85, whatever, because I loved everything except for that last little section.
So what swaggy song did you pick?
NERV.
Yeah, there you go.
Because it's just a damn good song from beginning to end. I don't know. I don't have a swaggy section. I feel like this album is either happy, angry, or like a moody, sexy, and like, yeah.
Yeah, but then Obsession and Nerve is kind of angry, sexy.
Yeah, true. It's a song. Those are songs for makeup sex. So. All right. So with this being our 100th episode, I think that this is where we should read our closing statements at the same time.
Okay, perfect.
No.
No.
Not going to do it. Not going to put our listeners through that because they have joined us for 100 episodes. And if you have listened to every episode, I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't listened to every episode. That's not true. I have.
No, I have to. No, we do listen back to our own episodes.
I just like to listen to myself talk. What can I say? I mute your parts.
Oh, no. It's a very uncomfortable car ride. So.
Actually, I do a second edit where I just take all of your parts out.
Anyway,
if you want the monster cuts, you got to sign up for the Patreon.
It's just monster really loud.
Oh man, who wouldn't want that? I already have that with Second Breakfast. What do you need more?
I wear headphones the entire time we record. You're in my head the whole time.
Oh man, I tell you what. So I often make the comment about going out on a high note. I am pretty sure you're going to come in higher than me, and you brought this one to the table. So how about I go first?
Go for it.
And then let you finish.
Go for it.
I've enjoyed a lot of Thornhill's music over the years, and with their newest release, Bodies, they have come closer than ever before to making a complete record that I enjoy from start to finish. Unfortunately, there are just a couple sections on this album that fall a little flat for me. The highs outweigh the lows, and there is more I enjoy than don't, but overall, there are just too many songs that underwhelmed me. The album has an overall atmosphere that feels cool and dark and moody, and I like that. The problem is, I like the songs with the big chuggy riffs, and that only makes up about half the record. I think everybody in this band is on point, and I love that their style has slowly morphed from generic metalcore to a modern version of nu metal, alt metal. I hesitate to call Thornhill straight up new, but they are wearing that influence loud and proud on this record, and for that I commend them. While not an album I plan on revisiting from start to finish, there's about 3 or 4 tracks on this album that will be in heavy rotation for a long time to come. 1 to 10, I said 6.88. Danger.
But
take us home.
It's funny because we've been out at 100 episodes. I can pretty much guess where you're going to.
You already had the 6 down, right?
I had my finger on the 6 ready to go, but I just hadn't pushed it yet. So
I went back and I looked at what I gave the Dark Pool, and I was like, I know I like this better, but by how much? By about 0.88.
So I went back and I looked at what I gave the Dark Pool, and I thought I would rate that different now.
Yeah,
that was
I bet you would.
Episode, so which. We will do an episode where we re-rank some things.
I know, we keep talking about it. It's going to happen.
Yeah, one day. So, all right, kids. Get your dad's Jinkos out of the attic. Put a chain on your wallet and frost those tips. Australia has put out a sound here that make even those who want to fight off the nu metal army, like myself, the best of us happy. Thornhill has given us a new in you album that isn't just new, They gave us a new core album. I'm going to stick to that new core term. It embraces metalcore and new metal flavors with confidence while towing the waters of a realm filled with sludgy electronics that have funk and are kind of sexy at the same time. I feel like this is an album that would have come our way if Cobain had not been murdered. Yes, I said murdered, not killed himself.
Ooh,
I know.
hot take.
I know. And Chester had joined a Deftones that was not as pretentious as they tend to be. I'm not going to pretend that this album is perfect, but it is a good one that will stay in rotation for me. Bodies isn't the Dark Pool, but that isn't who Thornhill is anymore. Whatever trauma they have gone through gave us a damn good album. This sound fits them a lot better. Bodies is a fusion of Thornhill's heavy, sensual, and progressive elements, punchy production that can use some fixes at times, but they are tight songs and the writing is on point here pretty much the entire time. It has been dubbed everything from a metalcore masterpiece to the Dark Pool 2. If this is the new in you direction, I'm listening. I gave this a 7.78.
That's actually lower than I thought you were going to give it.
I teetered with going a little bit higher, but then because I did give the Dark Pool a solid 8, but that's where I was like, I would score that different now.
You would, but I know you're more, that metalcore sound is more your flavor, whereas the new metal sounds more mine. So I get why you would come in where you came in.
Right, but it's a new metal sound that I can get behind. And that's the thing that I really struggle with this, where I was like, I don't like new metal, but I really like this album. So, but the ending of some of those songs just kind of really drug down some of the scores. So,
sure.
Yeah. All right. So Monster gave Thornhill Bodies a 6.88 and I gave it a 7.78, which gives it an overall average of 7.33, putting it into the 17th position, just below Linkin Park and just above the Hell Freaks.
So Hell Freaks would be a little bit of an anomaly, but they could still pull it off. I say Hell Freaks first, then Thornhill, then Linkin Park, and that's a pretty damn good show. I'd go to that.
I would buy that ticket.
I'd love to go to that.
Yeah. So if you disagree with the score that we have given this album, then please send us an email at breakdownsbreakfast@gmail.com or head on over to one of our social media platforms, Facebook, X, or Instagram. Let us know what you thought about this episode. Let us know if there's something you'd like for us to give the breakdowns treatment to. And while you're there, please stop and say hello, because we have hit 100 episodes with this one. And I know other podcasts, 100 episodes is nothing, but for us, it's a big deal.
Yeah. And, just recently, podcast math is hard. I don't know exactly, but
it is.
We did an episode, a second breakfast on your comments and your feedback. Let's not go another 100 episodes without doing another one of those. Let's get enough comments and feedbacks and emails that, we could do one of those every couple of episodes. That's a lot more fun. Right. But really do appreciate everybody that's been listening this whole time and writing in and commenting and stuff. You guys are awesome. And yeah, thanks for listening to episode 100. That's pretty cool. So I'll give you a little bit of words of wisdom to go out on. Why should you never have breakfast in bed?
Why?
Because you should have it on a plate.
This is Luke Severide, and you're listening to Breakdowns for Breakfast. Okay, no, fuck.